Alrighty, hey, we had a stream today about the Legendary Lord Tournament, and we missed 3 replays. Well, missed is a strong word. I had to go. We hit my set deadline, but we only had 3 left. Not worth starting up another stream, so I'm just going to release them as one video. So here's the current status of the Legendary Lord Tournament. If you're confused about the format, go to the live stream. But it is a double elimination tournament. I could show you the bracket, but we were trying this new visual thing. So just everyone with 2 lives is still in the upper bracket. Everyone with 1 life is in the lower bracket. Dead means they lost twice and they're out of the tournament. Right, okay. We had 3 more matchups in the 1 life category. We have Kugath Plaguefather versus Scrag. We'll boot that up now. Hey, there we go. Black screen for a second. Kukinko piloting Kugath versus Calamity on Scrag the Slaughterer. Loading in now. The only thing you knew about your opponent's army is the lord they were bringing, and Kugath is a big lord. So you know the enemy build's going to be quite small with him at the helm. And also you know that you have a target for your 2 giants to ominously march into. So the giants in Scrag bringing only Troll Guts to heal up his giants. Then we have 4 Gnoblar Trappers, 1 Maneater Pistol, the Powder Guts, and then we have Saber-Tusk Packs, Piggyback Knights, Ogre Bulls, and Gnoblars. Before we get too much further, I forgot to mention these replays are on the last patch. They're not on the new patch, which is why we are hurrying to get them out before any hot fixes come out and ruin the replays forever. For Nurgle, we have Forsaken and Plague Toads on the front line with the Frolickers Bubonic, trying to get a little bit of Nurgling love in there. The Rotting Riders, 2 Skirmish Cav, and Kugath with just Fleshy Abundance. Kugath's artillery mode is not very helpful versus the Ogres. You can either hit Gnoblars, which don't matter, or you can hit Ogres, which you won't do very much damage against with that type of projectile. So Kugath's in a bit of a bind. He really wants to get into melee as fast as possible. Forsaken going to blend through the front line. Several players have noted that Forsaken are actually quite strong against Ogres in general. So taking 4 of them here as Nurgle makes a lot of sense. The Plague Toads are just a little bit of mass that can maybe get through and harass the Gnoblar Trappers. Good armor-piercing values on them, too, as the Rotting Riders try and find somewhere to be. The Giants seem to be just shadowing Kugath. They're like, listen, if you want to join the fight, we'll join you joining the fight. But otherwise, you stay out of here, fat boy. And then Kugath's like, you fat boy, well, if you looked in a mirror lately, you're not exactly thin yourself. And then they get in a big fight of words, and it's really not worth our time. We're busy here. Gnoblar's terror routing away from the Rotting Riders. Ogre Bulls soon to follow. So they're just going to rout off. The front line is broken for the Ogre Kingdoms. Gnoblar Trappers being forced back. And as long as the Gnoblar Trappers are forced back, it means Kugath can party. But normally, he has a better time than he will against 2 Giants. Rotting Riders here to help him out quite a bit, though. And the Giants are surrounded by enemy forces, and they're getting skirmished down. So this actually could be a bit of a disaster for the Ogre Kingdoms. We will see. As a tier 1 army ability, Dismember comes down onto the Rotting Riders to get extra damage on them as the Maneater Pistols fire in, but the Frolickers Bubonic get on top of them and distract some of those Maneaters. Forsaken and the Plague Toads doing very well. Getting through that front line nice and easy. Like we said, the Giants are going to take a lot of damage, though. We do have overlapping Skirmish Cavs, so they can get in their own way and obstruct any models that are overlapping. Can be rather difficult as we get into Fleshy Abundance, Overcast, healing up Plague Toads, Rotting Riders, and Kugath. Very effective cast there. And the Powder Guts tried to move up. They're now just helping Scrag. This is Forsaken, just a menace for the Ogre Kingdoms to deal with. Just constant poke at their butts. Giants falling back. The Skirmish Cav do need to keep up with them. So keep that range nice and short. Saber-Tusk Packs look for something to fight. Gnoblars and Gnoblar Trappers getting pushed back in every front from the Nurgle front line, but the right flank has collapsed, it looks like. One Forsaken is about to rout. The Plague Toads that were here must have demonic instability crumbled, so the Ogres did rally that side at least. Giants, half HP for one, a third missing for the other. The Rotting Riders trying to figure out what to do at this juncture. Healing Cap in sight, but not reached quite yet. Fecundity cast on them. They need to spread it to the Marauder Horsemen and Nurgle. Because otherwise that tier 2 army ability is not really worth it if you don't spread it to anyone, but it does not look like it's going to spread here. Didn't hit those Marauder Horsemen. Didn't hit the Plague Toads, so unfortunately not a great tier 2 army ability cast here for Nurgle. Gnoblar Trappers firing in on the Rotting Riders. Still have their damage resistance. They do get that until they rout for the first time, then it is broken for the rest of the game. Battle's getting very simplified, as a lot of units are taken off the battlefield. Rotting Riders running around, getting a Fleshy Abundance heal. Interesting. That is going to heal cap them for sure. I don't know if that was the best cast, because they have their slow heal, and they're all, like, look, they're going to hit their healing cap, and they'll still have almost half the spell left, so that's pretty unfortunate. Maybe should have used it on the Plague Toads. They're not a great target either. Could have just saved the Winds of Magic, so I don't know. I don't love that use. Feels a little over-eager. Frolicker is still trying to stop the Noblars, wasting their ammo. As long as the ammo isn't used on Kugath, it's generally fine, though the Rotting Riders do need to rejoin this fight or harass the Noblar Trappers or harass the Powder Guts or do something. Right now, they're kind of... they feel a little lost. Now they're jumping into this fight, which is pretty fine. Powder Guts trying to fire in, but they're running low-ish on ammunition. Meat Feast is out for the Giant. That is a big heal, and Troll Guts on the other one, so both Giants going to get a lot of HP back. Remember, this is before the Meat Feast nerfs and before the Ogre Kingdom's army nerfs in general. So those heals are very, very strong. Quite potent. Kugath is still doing well. The Rotting Riders helping out. The Noblar Trappers are now getting in between their tootsies, trying to stop them from killing the Giants outright. Losing the Frolickers Bubonic. Losing some Forsaken around. The Powder Gut's still chilling. Dealing with the Marauder Horsemen. And Kugath is just trying to grind down all these Noblars with his slow drain. His drain doesn't matter to the single entities here. Scrag are the two Giants, but one of the Giants is back to full HP, which is very demoralizing for the forces of Nurgle. The other one's heal cap is in sight. There's still a good chunk of HP. Could get another undercast of Troll Guts if given the time. Only problem for the Ogre Kingdoms is going to be that drain of Kugaths. As any of these Noblars and Ogres try and get in to help, they're already pretty injured, so his drain will do a lot of damage to them. But with the Powder Guts being healthy, both Giants and Scrag, all versus Kugath, who has no support of his own really left on the map, they should win out. Should. Doing a lot of work in that sentence as Kugath just claps a Giant in the face with some pus. Fecundity is out onto Kugath. It's trying to spread to the Rotting Riders, but it does not for now. This is another Fecundity that just kind of came and went. The Rotting Riders don't need the healing, but they really could have used the Vigor regeneration. The healing, they're already capped. Can't do anything about that. Ogre's busy killing everything that isn't Kugath right now, leaving the Giants to duel him. They have separated sufficiently, so now no matter where he goes, he is facing one of them, and his backside is to the other, lowering his considerable melee defense. Another Troll Guts is out for the Powder Guts, as the Rotting Riders keep cycle charging, but Kugath, it does not seem to be winning this fight. Noblar Trappers and the Powder Guts all try and join in to help out in taking down the Plague Father, which he's had a sizable impact on this game. He's got good value. He's still got a lot of HP left. His heal cap is far away, so he could get a Fleshy Abundance on himself like he is. I don't think he's going to be able to win the game from here. The Rotting Riders, however, isolating Scrag might. A Giant has to peel off of fighting Kugath to peel for Scrag, because Scrag's taking too much damage, and they got a little worried about it. Kugath healing up. Don't know where his heal cap is, but it's got to be getting close as he bodies a Giant real fast. Sabertusk Packs rejoining the fight, getting rid of the Rotting Riders once and for all. Marauder Horsemen of Nurgle charge in. It looks like they're going into melee. As Kugath chucks out a little Nurgling at the Noblar Trappers, but there is another Meat Feast onto the Giant. That is just too much healing. And that is a reason that they got nerfed, especially that ability, but their army generation in general for that ability. Out-healing Nurgle handedly is not something that we typically like to see. At this point, it is a foregone conclusion, so I'm just going to fast forward. No hope for Kugath there. All alone. 2,000 value for him. Not terrible. Forsaken did fine. Marauder Horsemen did fine. Plague Toads did okay. Rotting Riders did fine. For Calamity, tons of healing. The Man-Eater Pistols got 3,000 value. Ogre Bowls and Noblars generally didn't get a lot. Noblar Trappers got a lot of value, though. Sabertusk did okay. Giants did great. GG. Take you to the Infinite Tunnel and update this. So Kugath is in the dead zone, joining Tretch, Wulfric, and the Changeling. We'll delete that replay and get on to the next one. We have the Sisters of Avalorn versus Alariel the Radiant. Trogdar versus the Phoenix King. And we have double kite. Triple Waywatcher with the Sisters versus 5 Shadow Warriors with Alariel. Neither side bringing very much melee here. We have 2 Wood Elf Spearmen versus 1 High Elf Spearman. It is all about 360 shooters and cavalry. For the Wood Elves, the Sisters are on their Eagle with a Branch Wraith, Melkoth's Earthblood, and Awakening of the Wood. Triple Way Watcher, as we mentioned, Hawkeye's Jakira among them. Wild Riders, 4 of those, one of which is the Wild Hunters of Kurnos. Pretty straightforward build. 2 Eternal Guard. On the other side for the Phoenix King, we have the Flamespire Phoenix, Alariel the Radiant with Foz Protection, Earthblood, and Star of Averlorn. 5 Shadow Warriors, 4 Illyrian Reavers, no, 2 Dragon Princes, 2 Illyrian Reavers, and 1 Spearman, just for the sake of having a Spearman. I wonder if he had the extra money or if he wanted someone to stand on the point with silver shields and just tank damage for him. Not sure. The first volleys are out. And trying to snipe a Flying Lord that is moving without a net is generally not smiled upon. The Way Watchers are going to have to shoot at probably Dragon Princes or Shadow Warriors or something. We can see how many of those arrows just miss. Like, shooting at a flying target, especially when on something as small as an eagle, is just folly. And the Way Watchers lose almost half their HP every time they reveal themselves to the Shadow Warriors. So, yeah, the Wood Elves need to pivot real quick to a new target priority. The Sisters poking is fine, because the Sisters have homing arrows. But, again, they fire at the Flamespire Phoenix. The Flamespire Phoenix just dodges. I do not like the Sister priority, the Way Watcher priority. It is not my favorite. Dragon Princes countercharge Wild Riders, but the Wild Hunters of Kurnos going to get a good charge on. The Phoenix King sees it coming. He's probably going to throw down Foz Protection as well as the Star of Avalorn. The Star of Avalorn is trying to heal up the Dragon Princes through that Wild Hunter of Kurnos damage. And this is where the Way Watchers could support the Cav fight, but they're busy peeling for themselves. That's fine. Shooting the Dragon Princes to keep yourself alive is definitely worthwhile. Wild Hunters of Kurnos taking a lot of damage. They're dealing a lot of damage, but they are taking a lot. As a quick smoke bomb slows down the Dragon Princes quite a lot as the Way Watchers peel back, try and save themselves. Wild Hunters of Kurnos did a good job getting almost 1,000 value in a 2v1 against Dragon Princes with the Flamespire Phoenix supporting against them for a little bit, and more Wild Riders come back to peel the Dragon Princes. It's good stuff overall from the Wood Elf Cavalry. I like that. Foz Protection on the Illyrian Reavers to make them hold against the Wild Riders. While they had that active, they had like 50 plus melee defense, which the Wild Riders couldn't get through. And the Shadow Warriors are just shooting in this whole time, so the Wild Riders having a bad time with all that. Way Watchers, now that they are peeled, are trying to come back to the fight. The scatter shot from the Sisters of Avalorn doing good damage to the Shadow Warriors. Way Watchers, I don't know if they're stocked just now, but they're firing, so they probably are revealed. Wild Riders trying to get to the back line, trying to shut down some of those Shadow Warriors so the Way Watchers can get damage out uncontested. The scatter shot from Sisters of Avalorn means they've realized that these Shadow Warriors are the real problem too, but Wild Riders easily peeled off and pushed away, so the Wood Elves have no backline threat anymore. They are relying on their 3 Way Watchers to outshoot the 5 Shadow Warriors, which is difficult. And unfortunately, it looks like they had fire at will on, so they just wasted a volley on a Shattered Dragon Prince. Melkoth's coming out onto the Dragon Princes from the Branch Wraith. As the Way Watchers have retreated to the forest, got a really good shot on Alariel because she wasn't dodging this time, so that was a good sneaky little shot. But the last of your Wild Rider peel is being murdered. Oh, there's a little bit more, but the Way Watchers are going to have to turn their attention on those Dragon Princes. But instead, they shoot at the Flamespire Phoenix, which has self-healing. I'm scared. I'm nervous for this targeting priority. Side shot in from the Sisters of Avalorn, get good damage on the Dragon Princes. A little bit of friendly fire, but definitely worth it overall. As the Illyrian Reavers, Dragon Princes, Flamespire Phoenix, and Alariel all pushing in on the Way Watchers. A little bit of healing, but one good volley on Larry could kill her at this low of HP, so you got to be cautious. But they are going for threat overload. There's just too many things to shoot at, so they are going to get onto the Way Watchers, like it or not. Sisters of Avalorn end up fighting with Larry. I think Larry's trying to hold them in place so that the Shadow Warriors can get up close and get a nice shot on that Eagle. But again, Larry's playing with fire. Sisters of Avalorn are not bad melee combatants, and they have decent range damage, even at close range, with those homing single-shot arrows. Melkoth's getting expanded on the Shadow Warriors. Way Watchers pulling back. Rear charge in from the Sisters of Avalorn, trying to route off the Illyrian Reavers. Routes off the Dragon Princes. Almost routes off the Flamespire Phoenix because they are applying this -16 leadership debuff whenever the Hawkeyes or Jakira hit something. So everybody for the High Elves is routing away. And the Flamespire Phoenix did not get its heal proc or death proc yet. And honestly, if I was the Wood Elves, I would just let that be. Let it route. Because you have the potential of... Maybe you kill it, but you also maybe make it stronger than ever before, and that's a bit of a bummer. So I would just let it be low. You have other things you need to be doing. Like, the sisters might have to start harassing Shadow Warriors, as now they're firing at all these Way Watchers. High Elves behind on the balance of power, but I don't believe it yet. Alarielle is incredibly low, and that's factoring on the balance of power, but she can heal herself quite effectively. These Way Watchers can't get that healing that easily. Sisters of Twilight do chase the Flamespire Phoenix off the map. It looks like it did die before it hit the edge of the map, so it didn't go off the map. It truly died. It didn't actually get its rebirth. But if it had, that would have been a little awkward. Way Watchers falling back, used a lot of their ammo, but the Shadow Warriors are still pushing on them. I'm just getting that perpetual slow damage. Speaking of perpetual slow damage, the Branch Wraith is not taking no for an answer. Runs up with Melkoths, slowing down and damaging the Shadow Warriors. Well, these Way Watchers, they still have Fire at Will on, so some of their volleys are still going into Shattered Dragon Princes. I don't love that. Wood Elves have the capture point, and they have had it for a while with their 2 Eternal Guard, which could be problematic for the Shadow Warriors. If they end up being in a super long trade with the Way Watchers and they use all their ammo, they are not good melee combatants versus those spearmen. Not like the spearmen are world beaters and going to murder them all, but it'll take them too long and they might lose the capture point. Branch Wraith routes off one of the Shadow Warriors. The other Shadow Warriors still firing at the Way Watchers. The Way Watchers have gotten to that critical mass where they're so wounded that there's not as many models to hit, so the Shadow Warriors end up missing a lot. They're just not doing as much damage. That's true of all ranged units across all time, though. Your first volley is always going to be your most damaging, and the lower something is, the harder it is to hit it. The Way Watchers raining arrows back in. Alarielle fights the sisters. Alarielle has on-command healing, while the sisters do not. They do not have their bound healing, so they are relying on the Branch Wraith for Earthblood. Way Watchers are pretty much a spent force. The Shadow Warriors have also taken a lot of damage, though, and Larry is not winning this fight for the Sisters of Avalorn, but maybe if she has some healing in her back pocket, she could do it. You have Thaw's protection for yourself or something, but no, she's just going full all in on the sisters and not retreating, not calling on her Shadow Warriors to save her either. She is fighting to the death, and to the death it will be. I am shocked she never pulled away and she never cast any healing on herself. As the Shadow Warriors end up in melee with the Way Watchers, they're finishing them off, but now that's the least of your problems as your leadership is faltering. You have no caster anymore, and I don't know. High Elf was a little asleep at the wheel at the end of that. Not taking the opportunity to fire straight up into the Sisters of Twilight, take out the Wood Elf leadership and save Alarielle, not trying to land Alarielle. I don't know if she had Winds of Magic or if she just didn't cast any spells. I don't know. But, like, it seemed like the High Elves just went AFK. Like, it felt that way. The Shadow Warriors were just shooting at what they were shooting at. Larry just stayed in the fight she was in. They just stopped moving. That was weird. Good win to the Sisters of Twilight. It was a very close game with a mystifying, scary ending. Sisters with the most value I've seen out of them since Warhammer 2. Most of it they got in melee. They spent a lot of time slapping Alarielle, slapping the Flamespire Phoenix, recharging Dragon Princes. And GG. GG. Shadow Warriors getting a lot of value overall. Lyran Reavers and the Dragon Princes mixed, but the Dragon Princes got good value. The Flamespire Phoenix didn't get too much done, unfortunately. Other side, Way Watchers did very well. Wild Riders, not a lot of value except for the Wild Hunters of Kronos, but Branch Wraith and Sisters did fantastically. Welcome back to the Infinite Void. As we hop over here quick, Larry is out next to the Changeling. Yeah, whatever. We'll leave weird little gaps at the end to, like, slot people randomly. I don't know. Kind of hodgepodge over here. We do whatever we want. Alrighty. And then the last game of these 3 awkward games I had left at the very end, we have Throt the Unclean versus Crone Hellebron. We had a lot of Dark Elves on the stream. Decent amount of Skaven. So let's end the non-stream video with more Skaven and Dark Elves. Throt sticking with his mostly rush style. Nurgle's PA has been running most of this time. And Crone Hellebron, I mean, doing the only thing Crone Hellebron can, running straight at you with Fury and hoping for the best. 4 Witch Elves, one of which is the Sisters of Singing Doom. They do have Terror, which makes them very good against Skaven. Paired with the Burning Headcaster, clearing out that front line plus lowering their leadership further for more Terror routes does usually mean the end of the Skaven quite quickly. Colden Knights, Crows of Cain, and then a massed flank of Dark Riders and Doomfire Warlocks. On the other side, for the Skaven, we have a Packmaster and Throt, both on their Brood Horrors for Terror. Wolf Rats, Eshin Triads, Rat Ogres, a couple Doom Flayers, front line of Skaven Slaves, and then a Warlock Engineer with Flensing Ruin. A couple Skaven Slave Slingers, but those guys are going to be dead already. as Dark Riders find them. On a small map with such good Vanguard locations, though, it's understandable the Skaven only took 200 gold slingers for their ranged because they knew they might get flanked, so you might as well just opt for the full melee and hope for the best. Crows of Cain and Coldwood Knights taking a lot of damage versus the Eshin Triads and Rat Ogres, but in comes Murderous Prowess. This is when things should start to turn in the Dark Elves' favor, as they get a big boost of leadership and damage to push in on the Skaven. We do have a couple forgotten Dark Riders, some Coldwood Knights that need to return to the fight, and they just are starting to now. And some of our cavalry are getting worked down by Throt and his Molder monsters. Throt has a Rat Ogre summon. I wonder if he's already popped it or not. Doesn't look like he did. He didn't bring it. Okay, makes sense. Crone Hellebron appears to be winning this left-hand little engagement. On the right-hand side, the Skaven appear to be winning, but more Doomfire Warlocks and Witch Elves are streaming in, so maybe that will change. We will see. The Dark Riders that had been previously forgotten are now starting to join the fight. Dark Elves do need to focus on making sure the Skaven stay routing. Can't let them rout and come back and get rear charges on you. You do have to chase them off the map. In comes a Flensing Ruin. It looks pretty painful and it will do some damage, but it's mostly a single target sniping spell, so not being able to use it on Hellebron or the caster is a little brutal. Trying to punish a blob with it instead, but it doesn't do that much damage per tick against things that aren't single entities, so it's pretty whatever. But the Dark Elves are falling behind on the balance of power. Skaven feeling pretty good about their rush. Doomfire Warlocks, this all cavalry build from the Dark Elves does feel like it committed to melee a little too hard. Like, you have all this speed, but there was no cycle charging or no chasing down things that got routed. They just kind of threw themselves into one fight and stayed in that fight to try and win it, which generally infantry and monsters will do a lot better in that, because you're paying for the speed, so you're just getting less stats per unit of gold if you don't utilize the speed, right? Soul Blight onto the dogs to lower their damage and armor, but the Doomfire Warlocks got charged by dogs, so they are going to take a lot of damage, and Throt is coming over to help out. Things are going from bad to worse for the Dark Elves on the right side. On the left side, they are winning, but they took a very long time to win, and they took a lot of damage to win. So it's not like a massive force from the left is going to be able to go aid the right side now. Both sides are very attritioned out. And Throt plus the Packmaster does have a habit of artificially inflating the balance of power, but they can also take a ton of damage very quickly, and they're bad at clearing things out in the late game. Like just a pure grind fight, they're pretty bad at it. So I could see this balance of power being slightly fraudulent, and Throt end up losing this game somehow by just getting surrounded by elves and slapped to death. That is a reasonable outcome that could be coming our way. I honestly don't remember who wins. The players have told me since, but I haven't looked at the bracket in a little bit. Throt's about to take a Doom Bolt to the head. From someone. From who? Hellebron. No, the Doomfire Warlocks. That's right. They have that bounce spell. I was like, where the hell is that coming from? Eshin Triads routing as we fight on top of Witch Elves. We do have more Dark Elf support coming in, and the balance of power is definitely heavily influenced by the Skaven single entities being this healthy. Crone Hellebron needs to stop and fight back. She cannot outrun these guys. She needs to utilize her combat prowess versus them as best as possible. Soul Blight is down again, lowering their armor, lowering that damage, and the leadership is getting lower. Packmasters have terror, so they cannot be terror routed, but other than that, they have piss poor leadership intentionally. Not saying it's a flaw, just saying it is how they are balanced. So Packmasters might get routing faster than you would think a terror-causing monster would. We're getting to that late game situation that could happen where you see the Skaven just get ground down to nothingness, but there's a much better Flensing Ruin onto Crone Hellebron and all of her remaining forces. Nice Burning Head from the Dark Elves, though, trying to get the Skaven to rout before being able to come and help Throt. But either way, Hellebron is about to die, and with her goes a lot of your damage, but Throt might rout randomly. Oh, and if he does, this is a big opportunity for the Dark Elves. The Dark Elves need to chase him. Need to. They cannot let Throt return. That is the only way for them to win this game, is if they escort Throt the Unclean off this map, and they need to do it right now. Balance of power is still slightly in the Skaven's favor, even with the Warlock Engineer terror routing, even with Throt actually routing and chasing. But he rallies in front of the Dark Riders anyway because his balance of power was just so significantly higher than that of a wounded Dark Rider. They was allowed to come back anyway. It is something that happens in the game, though it always confuses me. The Warlock Engineer is getting absolutely shellacked by Crone Hellebron, so there will be no more Flensing Ruins to bail them out of this one. Scrying Stone and Shockcaller giving a lot of leadership to the Packmaster, who is now in over his head a little bit. Soul Blight taking him down to 8 armor and 30% less damage. He's trying to utilize his terror to take out some of these Dark Riders, take out some of the Witch Elves and Coldwood Knights and all that stuff. None of them are ITP. But he himself is the one that's going to go down. Without his Shock Collar and Scrying Stone, he would have already routed for the second time. and once those wear off, he will get going. There he goes. Throt is trying to heal up and rally some sort of forces, especially big monstrous forces like the Rat Ogres or the Doom Flayers, because their impact damage can be very high when they hit these already super wounded units. Hellebrand has killed the Warlock Engineer. There's officially no more healing left for them. And the Terror Routes are starting to come in against the Packmaster, which honestly are a good thing. I know that sounds weird, but if they don't turn into actual routes here, then getting these Terror Routes out refreshes your ability to not get Terror Routed. And that could help with the Throt engagement, because if their Terror Routes were available, they'll get charged by Throt and break and start a chain break that could end the game against the Dark Elves. So getting your quote-unquote immune to psychology briefly after getting Terror Routed could be huge. Packmaster's getting chased by the Doomfire Warlocks, but again, I think we're going to have a 2-for-1. I think he's also going to rally in their face like Throt did. I'm going to leave him in the backside of the screen where you can see him just in case that happens. Scissors Singing Doom, get the Gaze of Cain, a last-minute burst of stats that is desperately needed by the Dark Elves to stay in this fight, to give them a little extra oomph as they beat up Throt. Throt gets a couple shots on Hellebrand, but she is not retreating. Though she is not immune to psychology, she could Terror out at any moment and maybe take the game with her. As we saw in the top bracket, her Terror out did cost her and her entire team the game. It would be hilarious but sad if it happened to her again in the lower bracket. Rat Ogre's holding for now. Doomflayer's holding for now. As the Dark Elves are routing in every direction, leaving Hellebrand all by herself. Is there a burning head? Is there a crucial burning head to lower the leadership of these Rat Ogres, to lower the leadership of these Clan Rats? As Throt jumps in, he gets another hit onto Hellebrand, but she is hanging in there for now. The Doomfire Warlocks somehow managed to take the Packmaster off the map. I don't know how they have enough balance of power to push the Packmaster away, but the Dark Riders did not have enough to push Throt when the Dark Riders had so much more HP. In comes that burning head for the leadership debuff we mentioned. The Rat Ogres are very close to routing, and they've routed a lot, so I don't know if they'll shatter or not, but it looks like they're going to go. And if they go, they'll take a lot with them because they'll have that nearby allies routing. But another Terror route on Crone Hellebrand. It makes her naturally route. The Firecaster is trying to get one last charge in, but Hellebrand dies, taking the Doomfire Warlocks with her, allowing the Packmaster to rally, and that is going to be GG. Very close game here. But Throt survives yet again. Cleansing Ruincaster getting more value, almost more value than him and the Packmaster combined, while costing a lot less. Oh, Eshin Triads and Rat Ogres did pretty well. Dogs had a hard time, but Doomflayers did great. On the other side, for the Dark Elves, Doomfire Warlocks did fine, Cold Knights did well, Dark Riders struggled a little bit, Witch Elves did well, Rose of Cain did well too. GG. And to put you into the infinite void once more, we will move Crone Hellebrand wherever. There you are. Crone Hellebrand to the dead pile. Then make a little space. We're gonna make a little space. There she goes. All right. Those are all the replays we had on the old patch. Everything going forward will be on the new, shiny, upgraded patch. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.